Well, there was a row and Zoe said that Scott attacked her. She was defending herself.
Was she all right?
Well, she's a bit shaken up.
I've got to go to her.
No, you can't. She's with the police. I've got to go. I've got to go and tell Viv.
And I tried to push him off, but he just kept coming after me, and I was terrified.
So you had to defend yourself?
Well, I know he's a violent man. He was convicted of assault last year.
Yes, we're aware of that.
I still believe that he raped me before.
You dropped the charges?
Only because I was ill at the time. I couldn't remember exactly what happened, and he took advantage of that. He wormed his way back into my life.
I believe you were quite close for a while?
Well, he can be very charming when it suits him, till he doesn't get what he wants. Today I realised that I should never have trusted him. But he's not going to get away with it this time.
You need to come down to the station with us. We need to take your clothes for forensics, and a police surgeon will examine you and take photos of any bruising.
Yes, of course. I'm ready to do whatever I can to make sure he's locked up.
If you could get a change of clothes, we'll be off. I'm sorry to rush you, but the sooner we get this done, the better chance we have of finding evidence.
Mr. Scott Windsor, 24-year-old, found unconscious as a result of a ketamine injection. BP 14585, SATS 99
What's wrong?
Viv, you've got to come with me now. The car's outside. I'll explain along the way.
I think you'd better explain first. There's been enough gossip about us as it is.
It's Scott. He's in hospital.
What's wrong?
There was an accident at a home farm, and well, they took him off in an ambulance. Please.
You've got to go to him, Viv.
I've got to look up first.
Just leave it all to me. Your place is with your son. Go on.
There's nothing more I can tell anyone. I'd taken Jean out for the afternoon, and when we got back, Scott was being taken away in an ambulance.
Right.
Can we go now?
Yes, but it's the idea we wanted to take a statement from you later.
Have you seen the DI?
Yeah, she's back at the station.
There's something she should see.
Get this to DI one.
Sorry, Mr. Rennie. You had some riding lessons booked in this morning. I imagine Miss Tate wouldn't normally be involved in that.
No, I'm the estate manager. It's my responsibility.
But on this occasion, you did seek her assistance.
Well, we'd had a slight accident. The rider was fine, but I was concerned about the state of the horse. Zoe's a vet, so I thought it safest to get her to look at it.
And how'd she seem when you found her?
She obviously had a lot on her mind. She asked me to look after the horse while she prepared a sedative.
So you went back to the stables, but she never arrived?
Yeah, after a while I began to wonder what was taking her so long, so I went back. And I found Zoe with Paddy and Scott, unconscious on the floor.
What condition was Miss Tate in by then?
She was upset, but that's natural, isn't it? After he'd attacked her like that.
But you didn't actually see him attack her. That's just what you were told had happened.
I have never had any reason to doubt her word, and Scott Windsor is a nasty piece of work.
I hope that wasn't too much of an ordeal.
No, I've told you I'll do anything I can to help you convict him.
And we're very grateful for your cooperation. Are you ready to answer a few more questions?
Of course.
May I just remind you that you're still under caution? What was the purpose of Mr. Windsor's visit?
I don't know. He just turned up. I wasn't expecting him.
But he is a frequent visitor to Home Farm.
He comes to see our daughter sometimes.
And was that what brought him this time?
I don't know. You'd have to ask him.
Mr. Windsor is in intensive care. When he regains consciousness, we'll be questioning him. In the meantime, we have to rely on your word.
Well, soon after he turned up, he started to get abusive, threatening.
You had a row. What was it about?
He wanted sex. And I made it perfectly clear that I didn't want to.
And when he wouldn't take no for an answer, you injected him with ketamine?
I just grabbed the first thing that came to hand. I was attacked in my own home. I'm entitled to defend myself.
The law allows you to use reasonable force, if that was the case. However, I must point out that Mr. Windsor's condition is critical. He may never recover enough to give us his version of events. So it might be suggested it was more than reasonable force. In the circumstances, I must press you to give me a clearer picture of the incident.
I think I'd like to see my solicitor first.
He's in intensive care. I'm not sure if he's allowed any visitors. I'll need to ask the doctor. Won't be a minute.
Stay with me.
Miss Tate, perhaps you remember me. Neil DePaul.
I don't know you. I asked for Rachel.
She's on holiday, I'm afraid, so she's unavailable. I'm a partner in the firm. Perhaps you could leave me alone with my client.
Certainly, sir.
Would you like to tell me what's happened?
I was attacked in my own home, and I've tried to help them with their investigation, but now they're saying that I might have used more than reasonable force.
He is in intensive care.
He got what he deserved. I want Rachel here to tell them that.
I've explained that won't be possible. I realise you two have been close, but I've spoken to her, and if you're happy for me to continue to represent you, I'm ready to deal with this matter now.
It doesn't sound as if I've got much choice.
We don't know which way the police are going to take this, but I think we should be aware that you could be looking at very serious charges.
Viv and Paddy driving off together in a car. That's what I saw. There's something going on, I tell you. It's an emergency. Where's Bob?
He'll be back in a sec.
Oh. Well, they've certainly caused enough emergencies round here. No, it's poor Emily I feel sorry for.
It's a family emergency.
Well, what sort of emergency? Something to do with Donna? Scott?
I'm not at liberty to divulge. Oh, Bob.
Something.
There's obviously something going on. Right, I'll go straight away. I'll try and call Donna and Dawn. If you see them, though, tell them what's happened, yeah?
Of course.
Oh, you're in charge.
Did you say Sokka found it at the house?
Yeah, they're trying to trace where it came from.
Strange she hasn't mentioned it. I'm starting to wonder if Mrs. Tate knows more than she's letting on.
Well, I never did buy into that poor little me act.
Excuse me? Where are you going?
Having spoken to my client, I feel she's answered enough questions for the time being. She needs to go home and get some rest.
I'd rather she stayed to help us sort this out.
I don't feel up to answering any more questions.
Given Mr. Windsor's condition, it's important we establish exactly what happened while matters are still fresh in your mind.
I'd much prefer we continue this at another time, when my client's had some rest. In fact, I insist.
I'm afraid I can't let you do that. Zoe Tate, I'm arresting you on suspicion of attempted murder. You do not have to say anything, but it may harm your defence if you do not mention, when questioned, something which you later rely on in court. Anything you do say may be given in evidence.
Try not to be too alarmed by what you see. His son's hooked up to life support, but it's only to keep his condition stable.
Oh my God, Scott! What was he doing up there? Has he said anything?
He hasn't been able to speak since he arrived.
How did he end up like this?
I think it's best you talk to the doctor. I'll tell her you're here.
Viv, I suppose I better be getting back to the village now.
Please don't.
Miss Tate was the victim of a violent assault in her own home, and she wishes to make a complaint in relation to that. It's quite inappropriate that you should hold her here under arrest.
Since Mr. Windsor's the one in intensive care, I'm keeping an open mind about what happened this afternoon.
My client has bruising consistent with this attack, and I shall be requesting copies of the photos taken by the police photographer and the results of the forensic examination of my client's clothing for use in any subsequent prosecution of Mr. Windsor for assault and attempted rape.
They'll be made available to you. Can we get on with the interview now?
My client has prepared a statement.
Thank you.
I, Zoe Tate, make this statement aware that I'm under caution.
Oh, Bob, thank goodness you're here. I don't know what to do.
The doctor will see you now.
Will you come with me?
I'll leave you to it.
Mr. Kirk. I'm glad I found you. I need to take a statement.
I don't understand. He's always been such a healthy boy, kept himself fit. How could this happen?
Your son has suffered a significant dose of ketamine poisoning.
Poisoning? Well, isn't there some sort of antidote or something?
I'm afraid not. All we can do is try and get your son through this, and the next 24 hours could be critical.
You mean he could die?
We're doing everything we can to keep him stable.
How did he get poisoned? Are you telling me that somebody deliberately tried to poison him?
You need to talk to the police. I don't have any details. Just that the dose was administered by injection.
Zoe.
Yeah, and then when I got back, I heard sounds of like a commotion, and obviously was a bit alarmed, so I just let myself in.
Tell me exactly what you saw when you entered the room.
Scott was on the floor and Zoe was just really agitated.
And what condition was Mr. Windsor in?
Well, he was unconscious, and he was having trouble breathing, so I made him as comfortable as I could, and then I phoned the ambulance.
Why hadn't Miss Tate already done that, if his condition was so serious?
Because she was in shock. She said that he'd attacked her, and she just grabbed the nearest thing that was there to defend herself.
A syringe full of ketamine? I understand that since the drug has sometimes been misused, the Royal College recommends that it should be stored in a controlled drugs cabinet and any usage recorded in a register.
You've done your homework, haven't you?
So wouldn't you think it was surprising that a full syringe was just handily lying around in the kitchen?
Well, no, apparently Zoe had already made up the dose because she was going to treat a horse that was in the stable. So.
Wouldn't it be more usual to make it up when you're with the animal?
Well, not if the horse was volatile or skittish. No, you'd want to be able to act quickly.
I see. As a vet, you'd be fully aware of the drug's effect on humans.
Well, yeah, you'd want to be able to be prepared for any accidents.
Indeed. So Miss Tate would have been aware of the seriousness of Mr. Windsor's condition. And yet, she chose to do nothing about it.
Well, anyway, yeah, I've already told you, she was in shock. She obviously wasn't thinking straight.
Thank you very much, Mr. Kirk. You've been very helpful.
Sorry to drag you out, mate.
Oh, that's all right. I was just wondering what all the panic were about.
We'll be needing 2 rooms. One for me and Jean, and Paddy will be arriving later.
There's something wrong at home farm?
Zoe's away at the moment. She's asked us to make alternative arrangements.
What's up?
Well, we'd rather not discuss it.
Right, well, how long will you be stopping?
It'll just be the one night to start with, but it might turn out to be longer.
Well, if you just give me your luggage, I'll show you up to your rooms.
That's all we've got.
What news from the hospital?
Finally got to talk to the doctor, and I think you'll be interested in what she has to say. It appears that Mr. Windsor has 2 puncture wounds.
So she stuck him with enough ketamine to put a horse to sleep, then went back for another try. Does that sound like self-defence to you?
I've interviewed Paddy Kirk. He's admitted that she'd have been aware of the effects, so she knew exactly what she was doing.
The big question is why. But maybe that's getting a bit clearer too. Sucker found 2 syringes, 1 full. They've gone to the lab. More importantly, they turned up a ring. Transpires it's an engagement ring bought by Scott Windsor.
Interesting.
I reckon it's time Miss Tate started giving me some answers. Ready to answer some more questions?
Interview with Zoe Tate continues 1920.
My client has already given you a statement. She will now be exercising her right to silence.
Since then, some new evidence has come to light which doesn't appear to be covered by her original statement. It would seem to be in her interest to clarify these matters.
What evidence?
You told us that you injected Mr. Windsor to stop him from attacking you.
That's the truth.
According to the doctor at Houghton General, there are 2 puncture marks. Can you give me the reason for the second injection?
I was terrified. Everything happened so fast.
My client has nothing further to say.
OK, there is another matter I'd like you to consider. During the scene of crime investigation, an engagement ring was found at Home Farm. Any idea how it got there?
Scott brought it with him.
But you told us you didn't know why he was there. Are you now saying he came to propose?
In his head, maybe he thought it would legitimise wanting sex, but I still said no, like I told you.
Which brings us back to my client's original statement. She will now be exercising her right to silence. So I would suggest you release her.
With respect, sir, that's not your decision. We're entitled to hold Miss Tate for 24 hours without charge. The doctor has declared her fit enough to be detained, so we can apply for further extensions after that. Did Mr. Windsor know you were planning to leave the country?
You ought to be considering charges against Scott Windsor.
That would be difficult since he's unable to give his side of the story. Scott Windsor could die, you know. I'll give you some time to think it over.
Interview ends 1923.
Thanks for staying with me, Bob.
I couldn't leave you on your own at a time like this.
Well, I know you and Scott haven't always got on too well.
I know how much he means to you. That's what matters.
What if he... I don't know what to do.
Don't talk like that. It's gonna get better.
I don't know what he was doing up at Home Farm. He told me he was going out for the night.
Well, maybe he just called in to see Jean.
Everything that's ever gone wrong in his life seems to revolve around that place. That woman.
I've decided that we'll be holding Miss Tate overnight pending further investigations.
You can't. I need to be with my daughter.
I'm afraid that won't be possible.
You can't let them do this.
I'm afraid the police are quite within their rights. However, I would have thought bail in such circumstances would be much more appropriate.
Your comments have been noted, but the decision stands.
I'll look in on Jean for you.
Thank you.
And I won't forget your medication. And just remember, while I'm away, you're not obliged to answer any further questions.
Don't worry. I won't.
Hitting the ball?
Bad day, mate.
You gonna tell me what's going on?
It might be better if you didn't know, actually.
Well, gossip started already. Especially with you driving off with Viv.
What? No, it wasn't like that.
I know. But, I mean, folk are gonna start asking me why you're stopping here. I'll try and put them off, but... Well, you know that having a secret's the best way of attracting attention round here.
Well, I suppose they're all going to find out soon enough anyway, aren't they? Scott attacked Zoe at Home Farm. Tried to rape her.
Well, with his record, they'll throw the book at him, won't they? Is she all right?
Yeah, well, better than he is. Well, she had to defend herself, didn't she? Now he's ended up in intensive care.
What did she defend herself with? A shotgun?
Ketamine. She had a syringe full of it. She was going to treat this injured horse.
That stuff's lethal, isn't it?
And I need to take your belt.
What on earth for?
It's my duty to ensure that none of my detainees have the means to commit suicide.
I can assure you I'm not suicidal. Just furious at the way I've been treated.
I still need to take it.
You're making a big mistake. I'm not some criminal you can just push around.
Oh, we know exactly who you are, Miss Tate. A big house, a few million in the bank, and friends in high places doesn't put you above the law.
I see what this is. It's politics of envy. You're trying to put me in my place.
No, Miss Tate. I'm trying to find the truth. And I still need some answers.
I have nothing to add to my statement.
Yes, we've got the message. So I'm going home to enjoy my dinner. And you can enjoy a night in the cells.
Still can't raise Donna or Dawn.
They should be here.
There will be.
He hasn't moved for hours.
Well, they said, didn't they, it might take him a while to recover.
See if he never does.
He will. He's got to.
She did this to him.
We don't know that, Viv.
Well, he didn't inject himself, did he? She's a vet. She's got access to this sort of thing. She should have been struck off by now. Everybody knows she's not right in the head. Giving her drugs to handle is like giving her a lethal weapon. But it all fits. She never wanted me and Scott to have anything to do with Jean, but I never thought she'd go this far. I never thought she'd try and take my son from me. Well, all the money in the world isn't going to protect her now, is it?
Sleep well.